Robert Lewandowski. You know him, I know him, we all know him. One of the best strikers of his generation, over 600 career goals, multiple Bundesliga winner and top scorer, La Liga champion and top scorer, Champions League winner and top scorer with Bayern in 2020, 2 FIFA Best Player awards, or 2 European Golden Boots. His trophy list is massive, and I could go on and on, but is there something you have noticed? The lack of achievements with the Polish national team. Lewandowski is an undisputed greatest Pole to ever kick a football, being the national team's all-time top scorer, having scored 85 goals so far. But at the same time, his international career isn't really filled with achievement. Some of the greatest Poles to play, such as Boniek, Lato, Dana, all have a World Cup bronze to shout about. And Robert? The only tournament about which he can say he achieved something massive in is the Euro 2016, where Poland almost knocked out Portugal in the quarterfinals. And even there he only scored 1 goal, in the second minute against Portugal in the quarters of course. And sure, Poland is not the elite national team. It's maybe in the top 20 of the world when everything goes alright. But it's not like they couldn't do more. What's worse, that Euro 2016 was the best Polish tournament in the 21st century. And since that tournament, Poland's results have heavily fallen. Robert was involved in it too. What was one of the main topics over the last 6-7 years? Robert consistently going into an open conflict with the managers. Jerzy Brzęczek, Sousa and Michniewicz, Fernando Santos and now Michał Probierz have all been involved in a conflict with the Polish forward. And in this video, I want to go through all of those conflicts and find out what could be the pattern here and what could lead Robert to a decision to potentially retire from international football. After the 2018 World Cup, Poland has had 5 different coaches. This is quite a huge number, and among the higher ranked nations in Europe, it's also the highest one. Only the Netherlands had the same amount of managerial swaps, and still had less individuals involved. In 2018, Poland turned the nation's high World Cup hopes to a disaster, only winning the final game of the group stage, in controversial circumstances as well. This led to Adam Nawałka's dismissal, and his replacement became Jerzy Brzęczek. Jerzy's managerial career so far wasn't the most impressive. His biggest success as a coach to date was the 5th place with Lechia Gdańsk in the Polish top flight, so nobody expected too much, even though the main stars of the Polish national team were still at the top level. The first game, a Nations League draw against Italy, was a promising start, but narrow losses to Italy and Portugal later on made the Poles go rock bottom in the group. They would be relegated if not for UEFA's reform of the tournament. In the Euro qualifiers, Jerzy's team has done the job though, and won the qualifying group, suffering a sole loss to Slovenia on the way there. So, what ended Jerzy's stint, and where was the conflict? In November 2020, Poland played Italy in the Nations League, and lost 2-0. And the Poles did not record even a single shot on target. But this went to the shadows anyway, thanks to 2 different events. A horrific tackle from a defensive midfielder Jacek Góralski, he only got a yellow for this, and Lewandowski's interview post-match. When asked about the plan the team had for this game, the captain responded with silence. 8 seconds of it to be exact, which could suggest there wasn't any plan. This interview is one of the turning points of Brzęczek's stint as the manager of Polish national team, and in the middle of January in 2021, Jerzy found himself being dismissed by the Polish FA. The only game where we could truly say Poland was playing tactically very well was a qualifier against Israel, which Poland won 4-0. But I still have to say, the goals were fulfilled, and I think Jerzy should have at least gotten the chance to manage Poland in the Euros. Robert's stats under the manager? 18 games, 8 goals, out of which 1 was a penalty. But the most impressive one of the bunch was a solo run against Slovenia. Jerzy's replacement was a Portuguese man Paulo Sousa, who brought that organized possession-based style of play. Unfortunately, his stint lasted only a year, before Paulo took charge of Flamengo in Brazil. And there was no conflict between Paulo and Robert, maybe outside of the fact the latter was surprised with the turn of events in December. More on that in the Polish football iceberg. Paulo's successor was a man whose main job was to deliver results, and the style did not really matter. A former coach of numerous Polish clubs and the U21 squad, Jerzy Michniewicz. And when I say he needed to deliver the results without paying too much attention to the style, I mean it. Poland had to go through the playoff against Sweden to qualify for the World Cup, which they did. In Qatar, for the first time since 1986, they reached the knockouts, only being eliminated by France in the round of 16. Sounds great, right? Jerzy applied an extremely defensive tactic, which priority was to defend the goal at all times. Basically, take Mourinho's park the bus, but to the power of 2. Needless to say, The Athletic called the opening match against Mexico as the worst match of the tournament, and by a fair margin. Robert's involvement and the potential conflict? In terms of the style itself, Michniewicz finally allowed Poles to play with some attacking spirit and freedom, which led to an entertaining game against France in the round of 16. Lewandowski wasn't the happiest about the Poles' style of play in the group stage though, and suggested he would need more enjoyment from the game to play in the next 2026 World Cup. That's one thing, but the other problem was the atmosphere both in the dressing room and around it, which went severely downhill in 2022. Plenty of it was down to the set style of play, but the nail in the coffin was a scandal around the bonuses for advancing to the World Cup knockouts. In short, Poland's Prime Minister at the time, Mateusz Morawiecki, promised that the players will get 30 million zloty, round about 7 million euros, of bonus for reaching the World Cup knockouts, which eventually, at least from what I've deducted, was never sent, and it was just a loose declaration. However, the handling of this situation, let's just say it wasn't any good. With mixed opinions, mixed press statements, and the atmosphere around the team getting extremely sour. Lewandowski's stats? 10 games and 4 goals. 2 of which were penalties. Czesław was replaced by a big name. We're talking about the man who won the Euro 2016 with Portugal, Fernando Santos. Speaking of Santos, I made a video about his post-Euro 2016 career, so we'll keep it short here. Fernando's stint in Poland was a total disaster and only lasted 6 matches. Santos was initially seen as an experienced, successful manager who will bring back the good image of the team after the scandals of the 2022 World Cup. However, to put it short, the only wins Poland got under the Portuguese manager are those against Albania, Faroe Islands and Germany, but on a friendly. They also got a historical loss to Moldova, as the Moldovans turned around a 2-0 deficit at half-time to win 3-2. They were the 171st best team in the world at that time. Where's the conflict in all of this? I wouldn't say there was a major one, at least publicly, but Robert still made a pinpoint diagnosis of the reasons why Santos didn't lead Poland to good results and success. He pointed out the problems with Fernando's adaptability to this new Polish reality and lack of communication between him and the staff. Robert's stats under Santos? He played in all 6 games and scored 3 goals, 1 against Moldova and 2 against Faroe Islands. Santos was replaced by the former coach of Jagiellonia Białystok. That Cezary Kulesza, the chairman of the Polish FA, was a chairman of 2 at that time, Michał Probierz. Michał's start wasn't the best, but he has still done the job of qualifying to the Euro 2024 via the playoffs. Thanks to that, Michał was even initially praised by Robert for making hard decisions and improving the communication between the coach and the team, but things went south extremely quickly. Poland was the first team to get knocked out of the Euros, and only scored a point in the final game against France, with Lewandowski scoring a penalty. Then, Poland got relegated from the Nations League A, after Scotland scored in the final minute. Games in March against Lithuania and Malta were barely won. And now it's time for the most recent conflict involving Robert. The previous ones I described all had something to do with the tactics and the style of play, but this one is a bit more personal. At the end of May, we learned that Lewandowski will not join the Polish national team in June for a friendly against Moldova and a qualifier against Finland. Initially, the reason was that the forward needed a rest, and Robert is to no blame after playing over 4,000 minutes this season at the age of 37. But all of a sudden, on Sunday, massive news dropped. Michał Probierz appointed Piotr Zieliński as a captain, taking that function away from Robert. Robert's reaction seems to be a bit of a rage quit, as he announced he will not play for Poland as long as Probierz is in charge. This seems to be a sudden decision, and it indeed was, with just a simple phone call from the coach. Right after, Poland played Finland and lost 2-1. 2 days after this game, Probierz resigned. Who will be the next Poland's manager? There are 4 notable candidates from Poland. 2 former managers in Nawałka and Brzęczek, as well as Jan Urban, who most recently managed Górnik Zabrze, and Jacek Magiera, who most recently came runners-up with Śląsk Wrocław in the 2023-24 season. Now, there is something I want to mention about those conflicts. If I was to say who Robert communicated the best with in recent times, it's by far Paulo Sousa. Paulo said something right in late 2021, when he let Robert not play against Hungary, saying Poland has to prepare for the future without its superstar. Though it was for all the wrong reasons, more on that in the Polish football iceberg. The pattern here is that all the coaches Robert had problems with couldn't really utilize his skills. Almost all of the time, Robert had to go deep to get the ball and orchestrate the play, even as deep as he would be more of a center midfielder rather than a poacher he naturally is. Robert is known for scoring goals. And that's what he could do in Bayern and Barcelona, leading him to record-breaking stats, but couldn't do so in Poland, minus the stints with Nawałka and Sousa. But on the other side, Robert will soon be 37. The 2026 World Cup will probably be Poland's final tournament with Robert, as long as the Poles qualify. So I guess the time for a rebuild without him is rapidly approaching, and that future is not looking too bright really. But what do you think? Let me know who should be the next manager of Poland in the comments down below, and how do you see the Polish national team after Robert retires from it for good? There are plenty more names in the conversation, such as Maciej Skorża, who won numerous Polish league titles and even the Asian Champions League with Urawa Red Diamonds in Japan, or Nenad Bielica, who won the Croatian League twice with Dinamo Zagreb. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be very grateful for that. I also want to thank you so much for reaching 3,000 subscribers. It's great to see you like my videos, and it feels like a bit of a milestone really. And now, you can also watch this video, whatever it is that YouTube recommends. I hope you like it as well.